I'm not afraid of the word NFT. I know people think it's a dirty word now, but like people think Bitcoin is a bad word when Bitcoin's down.
I'm the same. I embrace NFT. It's the most confusing term ever and very alienating, but it stands out like all the other alternatives, like people trying to start a movement where they're like, let's call it on-chain music and stuff like that. And that makes total sense, but it's like, you gotta be controversial to make some noise. GM, welcome to GM Good Music, a music NFT podcast where we explore the future of music and the artists leading the charge. I'm your host, Josh Savage, and today we're meeting a trailblazer in the music NFT space, a first mover who's blazed a path from Rockford, Illinois to revolutionary digital success. He's navigated the highs and lows of the music industry and emerged as a key figure in its digital evolution. With a groundbreaking NFT album that has reached critical acclaim, he's redefining the intersection of hip hop and blockchain. Excited to delve into his journey further. Spottie, GM, great to have you with us. How are you and where are you right now?
GM, brother, thank you for having me. Thank you for that warm intro.
Of course.
I'm in New York City. I'm in Queens right now, just at my home, and excited to talk with you, man.
We've got a lot to talk about. So why don't we start with the very beginning, Spottie? Walk us through your early days in Rockford and what initially drew you to music.
Man, early days in Rockford. Rockford's like a factory town, kind of rundown factory town. You know, people have heard about Flint, Michigan, Gary, Indiana. These are like similar type of towns. Right. And music was, I don't know, my mom always listened to music. She was a big fan of music. She had a record player that she kept in my bedroom for some reason because there was nowhere else, no room for it anywhere else. You know, she had a small record collection, which was cool. She was always listening to a lot of the oldies, the classic stations, you know, Oldies 95.3 in Rockford, Illinois, which I don't even think is around anymore. But so I was getting exposed to a lot of different music through that, you know, right. Anything from the Beach Boys. Like, she loved the Beach Boys. She wasn't into the Beatles. She was into the Beach Boys. And Elvis, she was really into Elvis. So rock and roll. And then from that, she would have their records. And then on the radio, be hearing that along with Chuck Berry and Sam Cooke and other artists, right? And then as I got a little older, especially I would say like middle school, you know, I started hearing hip hop music that was sampling music that I knew, you know, so like one of the, you know, Hard Knock Life, you know, Jay-Z song. I was really into movies too. I wanted to be a filmmaker sometimes. So like soundtracks were an easy way for me to like hear a bunch of different artists, you know. So anyways, music was definitely influenced by my mom. My dad would listen to more Latin music, like Julio Iglesias, you know, Enrique's dad, and things like that. But yeah, and then at school, you know, it was hip hop for me, and that was more like my thing that my parents were not into at all, and it was a way to like understand my peers in school and people, you know, my friends and stuff like that, like learning like, okay, what is this song about? What does this lyric mean? That sort of thing. So, as a kid, I played piano, but I was like a bad student. And so later in life, I just started writing raps, you know, because I don't really play any instrument.
What's the first song that got you to write your first stuff?
I wrote a song about Rockford, actually, that my friend sang the hook on, and my other friend Stefan produced it, who I still work with, Stefan Clark. So yeah, we had a song about Rockford. I forgot what it was called. I don't remember where it was called exactly, but yeah, it's funny actually. It's like an inside joke. Anytime we're together, literally recording it in Stefan's basement with like, I think a comforter, you know, a blanket around a ceiling tile to kind of try to insulate the sound as we recorded it.
Nice, yeah, the standard home studio that we all started with.
Right,
fantastic.
Yeah.
And so, when did it start kind of getting serious for you? I guess, was it The Bridge? Was that the first steps into kind of the professional music industry?
Yeah, I would say so. The Bridge was a group that we started when I moved to Chicago because
Right.
Stefan and I were both from Rockford, and he moved to Chicago for school. I was in the suburbs, and then eventually I moved to Chicago for school. And when I moved to Chicago, we were like, okay, let's do something, where we can do shows and like put out a project. Let's get consistent and record a bunch of music. And I had another friend who's an MC, Hollywood, who was living in Rockford, and it was the three of us, the Bridge.
Mm.
So two MCs, one producer, DJ. And that's when we started taking it more serious. Like basically we had a little bit of money that I shouldn't even been spending because it was literally student loan money. Like
Right.
it was money that should have been for like, books and rent and stuff like that. But we pressed up some CDs. We put together an album. We pressed up some CDs. We were really relentless on the promo end of things, and we got our name out there, got in the radio, got on some good shows and got some
Yeah.
good press and that sort of thing, blog love. But by the end of that run, CDs were like obsolete,
Right.
and so it was sort of the start of the blog era and
What year was
and
it?
the music revolution. Well, that was I moved to Chicago in 2006. So 2006 to like, yeah, I don't remember. 2006 to probably like 2009 was the Bridge. And yeah, by the end of it, maybe I'm a little early, but like maybe it wasn't quite like CDs are totally obsolete, but they were. It was the beginning of the end for CDs.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. So that's when music piracy had just come out and people weren't buying it anymore, right?
Right. Yeah, like people were giving out like there were drop cards, just like basically QR codes to like download the music, or people giving out USBs, that's starting out.
Yeah.
That's around that time.
Gosh, crazy times thinking about that now. And do you think you naturally had a knack for promoting your music back then? Because I find that something artists really struggle with, just promoting themselves.
I'll say for sure, like, yes. And just not afraid to like reach out to people and get a no, get a lot of no's or get a lot of people not reading my messages, and this was during MySpace days actually. So I was super active on MySpace, like, reaching as many people as I could. And then we played a lot of shows. I was really like our booking agent also, and we got on some really good shows, really good stages. That group, the Bridge only had one album and like two mixtapes, and we opened for some big artists on some big stages.
Like who?
We opened for Snoop, we opened for Nas, Talib Kweli, T.I., on big stages too, like House of Blues Chicago, the Eagles Ballroom in Milwaukee.
Like how big?
But
give us the alpha.
Oh man, how big is the Eagles Ballroom? I don't know how big the Eagles. It's not like an arena, but and I'll tell you in a second if I can. But anybody that lives in Milwaukee, they know the Rave or the Eagles Ballroom. They said it's a 25,000 square foot dance floor. So I don't know. It's big, but and we would get good press too. Like we got really good press. That group actually we had shows that got shut down. Like the police, we kind of fizzled out at the end because we were getting a lot of resistance. Like there was an incident at a show, like not at a show. Sorry, we had a show, and then across the street there was a gunshot fired, like not related to our show. There wasn't people that attended our show or anything like that. And we just kept going. We just kept performing, and everything was fine. But then after that, we started having police would come around. We'd announce a show. Like we were supposed to open for DMX at this place called the Coliseum in Rockford, and they come through the inspectors, city inspectors or whatever, and they say like, "Oh, we see this or that fire code violation. You're getting shut down," even though they've been passing inspections up to that point and everything like that. So we were literally like gonna drive to St. Louis to see a lawyer that wanted to help us, basically sue the city. And Stefan's car broke down, and it was just kind of a moment that was toward the end of our run that I remember, where like we just kind of couldn't withstand all the adversity. We were too young and too immature to kind of like come together in that moment, instead of just getting kind of overwhelmed.
Yeah. No, how old were you back then?
Well, I'm going to show my age now, but I was, like 21, 22, something like that.
Okay. Yeah. Super young still. Although actually compared to some people who start out, like some people literally start out as babies, and makes you wonder how their mental health is, growing up with that. I feel like one of the best things that's happened in my career, at least, is that kind of I've been able to kind of find myself before getting carried away with all the noise, but it sounds like you kind of developed that yourself over time somehow, despite all the success you've had, and would love to know a bit more about that perhaps a bit later. So what happened with the bridge in the end? So I guess it just kind of, you guys got burned out or something, and what happened next?
Yeah, it was just like tensions were high, because this was a time when we were having a lot of success, but, and even now artists go through this where, you feel like you're having a lot of success because you're getting good press, or you're getting good shows or whatever, but the shows aren't always paying well. And
if they pay at all, yeah.
If they pay at all, and nothing else is paying well, so, and the shows, even performing, okay, you get a check, you get a performance fee, but you're going to sometimes you have unexpected expenses. Your car breaks down. We had a bunch of merch stolen like one time, at a show in Madison. So, you get all the blog love in the world, but that doesn't really pay any bills, so, right. We had another thing where like, and then creative differences start to creep up. Like, I remember we wanted to do this Christmas card shoot. We wanted to do like a corny, Christmas card shoot and send Christmas cards to like our fans on our email list and that sort of thing. Or people that had ordered stuff online. And everybody in the group didn't like it. Everybody in the group didn't want to do it. And we didn't communicate well about it. Like it's one thing to not like something, not like an idea, and there's a way to like express that. And when you're young, it's like every success in a group setting is because of me, and every failure is because of we. And as you grow, hopefully you realize it's the opposite. It's like, we were better as a group than we were individually, and even today, like Stefan, the DJ producer, like he's my partner in Spottie WiFi, like this CryptoPunk over my shoulder. Like we co-own this CryptoPunk, we built the name of Spottie WiFi, the brand, whatever you want. I know artists don't always like to think of themselves as a brand, but Spottie is me, but he's also a metaverse character, so he really is a brand.
What drew you to Web3 in the first place? Well,
I got drawn into cryptocurrencies during the bull run of 2017. So, all year long.
And how?
Basically, I don't know, you'll probably have a lot of people watch this that maybe are more into music than crypto, but every 4 years, it just so happens that like cryptocurrency prices go crazy.
Yeah.
And 2017 was one of those years. And it gets to the point where all year long prices are going up and it's very volatile, but it's going up. And anybody that puts their money in basically has a great opportunity to sell for a profit. And it gets to the point every 4 years where you get into a taxi and you're liable to hear about Bitcoin or crypto, or you go to get your hair cut at the barbershop and you're probably going to hear somebody talking about Bitcoin or crypto. You go to your parents' house for the holidays and you turn and they're watching the news and they're talking about Bitcoin and crypto, and they're talking about how everybody's getting rich off it except for you, and here's how you buy. And that is exactly what happened. So I was at my parents' house for the holidays. Started seeing the news talking about it. I had just been at holiday parties where my friends were asking me about it, talking to me about Ethereum. And so 2017, around the holidays, I start buying. And little do I know, I'm buying the top, basically. So I put in a bunch of money that I was not prepared to lose. And then all the prices came crashing down, like 90% down.
Well, when everyone's
super
talking
brutal.
About it, that's when you sell. I learned the hard way as well. Just 4 years later.
It seems it's a lesson that I think we're all reminded of. Hope learning. And I don't think anybody's perfect, but I really had bad timing with where I bought at, because I bought nearly the top. And so then I just stayed in it because I had a friend that told me you don't lose anything until you sell. So I didn't sell. And I just kept studying. Amazing. Like I would get up every day, in the shower on the way to work, I was listening to this guy, The Modern Investor, on YouTube, and other people, like sometimes Altcoin Daily, like they came around at some point around there. But just studying and learning and getting more convicted. And I kept buying even in the bear market. Wow. And then basically leading into COVID, the prices started going up. And then as COVID happened, I lost my day job. So I had given up on music, like back in 2013, started working at a desk job in marketing and advertising. And during COVID, I ended up losing my day job during COVID. And at that point, the crypto prices started going up. And I finally, after like a year and a half or whatever of being in the bear market and having like my investment be underwater, it like rose up and helped keep the lights on during being laid off, in COVID. And so I started freelancing. I was still doing marketing work, media work, so advertising, but I had more free time on my hands because I was just freelancing. And that's when I started hearing about NFTs, started hearing about crypto. I heard about NBA Top Shot in like January of 2021, again, around the holidays. And through Top Shot, I learned about CryptoPunks. And I had this crypto that I had been accumulating this crypto throughout the bear market, and now it's like worth something. So I said, okay, if I really believe that blockchain is like it, and if I think there's something interesting about the art aspect of it, like this thing is supposed to be like 1/10,000th of the new Mona Lisa, is really how I was thinking of it.
Right.
And so I Googled like, what's the value of the Mona Lisa divided by 10,000? And I was paying less for it for this. And so I bought it with no thought of doing anything musically with it. I was still just I wasn't even doing music at the time. It was just an investment at that point.
I never thought about it that way, like a fraction of the Mona Lisa. Because it's so, CryptoPunks was the first NFT collection like this, right?
That's debatable, but
okay.
it's widely regarded as that. It's widely regarded as the first the first smart contract that kind of set the standard for what NFTs became or have become popularly. So, but that's a controversial statement. So I would just say it's kind of the foundational. I would say it's more like the most influential or foundational one, in my opinion, than necessarily calling it the first.
Fantastic. So you bought it just as an investment, and tell us about the birth of Spottie WiFi, how it led to the music side of things.
So there's a character in this story named Crypto Novo, because when I first got into NBA Top Shot, he's the one who introduced me to CryptoPunks. So he was a Top Shot collector and a CryptoPunk collector. He had like 8 CryptoPunks. And he walked me through the website, showed me like how to purchase one, how to look at the different traits and rarities. And we ended up starting a YouTube show together. And so the YouTube channel was called NFT Stories. It's still up. We had like 20 episodes where we were interviewing artists and collectors and telling their story.
Right.
And so Novo would wear this Snapchat filter on his face. So he would be this character of his CryptoPunk. And I thought that was really interesting and really cool. And so that's where I started thinking like, okay, I have a CryptoPunk. Let me give him a name. What is my CryptoPunk's name? Well, my CryptoPunk has spots on his face. That's sort of his defining trait. It's what makes him rare. There's only 124 that have spots. So, okay, he's got to be spotty, some spots or the word spots or something that alludes to spots has to be in his name. And so I started calling him Spottie Pippen, and people thought that was kind of interesting, Spottie Pippen. And then one day I just came up with Spottie WiFi. And by that point I felt like, okay, I have the brand. I just need a song. I'm not a storyteller. I am a storyteller. I'm not an animator. I'm not like an author, but I can rap. So if I can get a producer, if I can get Stefan on board with this, I think I can do something with this Spottie WiFi character, and that was the start of it. So and this was pretty quick. The other thing was I used him as my profile picture on Twitter, and I started getting a following that I didn't have before. And so you realize, okay, I have a built-in audience. There's thousands of people that own CryptoPunks.
That was just because it was the PFP of a CryptoPunk, which gives you notoriety, I guess.
Yeah, not 100%, but when you see followers and you just feel like, what, they're a CryptoPunk, and I've never heard of them before. They probably never heard of me. I'm scrolling their page. We don't seem to have like a ton of similar interests that we're talking about other than NFTs and CryptoPunks, so.
Would you say it's like a good comparison? It's like when another dog sees another dog in a park and they say, oh, you're like me too.
Kind of. It's definitely like there's some aspects of tribalism to it. It's a really interesting intersection, right? Because you've got like people that are there for investment purely, people that are there for the art, people that are there for the technology, and people that are there for some combination of the three.
Yeah.
And so
it's like
it's really
say a better comparison potentially is it's like seeing someone wearing the same football shirt of your favorite team or something, and you relate to them that way as well, potentially.
Yes, that makes a ton of sense to me. That makes a ton of sense to me. Or just like you're representing. It does signal something, though. You know what I mean? Like there's I don't know a good example in terms of like football, but it's like being a Boston fan is very different from being like a Miami fan. Like they have different reputations. That sort of thing. And the CryptoPunks at that time, it was so early. There were no Bored Apes yet. The Bored Apes hadn't even come out yet. So because I bought that CryptoPunk late February of 2021, I put out the first song. I think April 15th, 2021. Okay. And I think the Bored Apes first tweet was the following day, like April 16th. So the idea of using the IP, using the intellectual property in the song, that idea was not popular at that time. The word derivative, I remember nobody used the word derivative. It was just like a different time. The Bored Apes came along later, and that made it like obvious, like, oh, IP is a whole opportunity here, where we're all on the same team, but we have different names on the back of our jersey, and we can go build with that name. And there's this power of the network effect. Yeah. But that was a new idea at that, or, it was not the meta at that time yet.
Yeah. For artists who don't understand so much about the business and the marketing side, how important is IP?
IP is it. IP is your intellectual property. So if you're an artist, you are a creator of intellectual property. You could also be a creator of physical property as an artist, but you are definitely a creator of intellectual property. And intellectual property can be owned and it can be monetized. And just because you create some intellectual property, it doesn't always mean you own it, and we have to, as artists, figure out, okay, how do I give myself the best chance to own this?
Yeah.
How do I register it so that it's known that I own it if I own it? That sort of thing. And that way I can monetize it in as many ways as possible if that's what I want to do, or I can
Yeah.
help others use it for whatever purposes they want to, if that's what I want to do. So,
Yeah.
I had the blessing of, like, when I said I moved to Chicago for school and I was using student loans to, like, press CDs and go on tours and things like that. Those were law school loans. I was studying intellectual property at Loyola Chicago. Intellectual property was exactly what I was interested in. I wanted to be a music lawyer or an entertainment lawyer. And so I think I've been really fortunate to be in the right position, the right place at the right time, with the right, like, just enough kind of understanding of a few different topics that all kind of converge, in Web3 music. And I'm really fortunate for that, but anybody that's hearing this, like, intellectual property is copyrights, it's trademarks, and it's patents. For 99.9% of us, patents won't apply. It's really about your copyrights and your trademarks. So, like, Spottie WiFi is a brand, when I say, that's why I say, like, I'm a brand. Spottie WiFi is a brand. It's literally a trademarked brand, CryptoPunk 5528, that's not something exactly that is even trademarkable by me. The intellectual property of this thing, I have rights to it, but a company called Yuga Labs actually owns the brand of the CryptoPunks, so there's levels to it, and it's complicated. And I think the best thing a lot of artists can do is, like, find an attorney that can help you. In a lot of big cities, there are, like, groups, like I know in Chicago, there was Lawyers for the Creative Arts that is like a 501c3 that organizes lawyers and recruits lawyers to do pro bono work specifically to help artists. You may have friends, you go out to enough shows, you go out to enough events, you network, you rub shoulders with people. You might find an attorney that loves to help artists, cold call, reach out. But these things, even when you've studied it, there's a lot to it. And for a musician especially, there's all sorts of performance rights organizations and, like, a dozen different organizations in the United States that you have to basically register with to even make sure you're getting paid for your music, everything that's owed to you.
Yeah, I think it's Prince that said, own your masters or your master owns you. And I think that's something that's given us a head start in the music NFT space, Spottie, is the fact is, like, we own our own masters, we write our own songs, and we don't need anybody's permission to get started, which is how we've had the level of success that we've had so far in the Web3 space. And absolute credit to you for kind of being a huge inspiration for me in that. So tell us about the first the first Spottie WiFi drops that you dropped, and how was the reaction of music as an NFT? How did that work? What did people think in the beginning? And tell us about that. How did you release it?
So we released singles starting on April 15th. We released 4 singles between April 15th and August, like mid-August. And each of the singles. No, this was all Web 2 releases. So we would premiere the songs on Twitter, and then eventually, I don't know if they were immediately, but they were pretty quickly on streaming platforms like Spotify. And then in August, once we had an album, that's when we scheduled the drop for it as an NFT drop. So the album had 7 songs. And really the album had 5 original songs and 2 remixes. So it was like, it could have been, some people, in fact, I think wrote it up as an EP, which was whatever, but it's seven tracks. And we had a bunch of other remixes that were not on the album, but they were in the NFT collection. So there were 2,000 different NFTs. Some of you might draw a 1 of 1 remix. You might draw a 1 of 500 song, from the album that's actually on the record and the vinyl and things like that. Whatever you get out of the 2000 NFTs, and they all have unique artwork also. And the artwork has like visual indicators. We use the stems as like the rarity traits. And so you might get this version of the drums, or you might get that version of the synths, and visually it corresponds to different artwork on the visual, so that you can scroll up and see that there's variety there. And no matter what NFT you drew, you would get a free claim for a vinyl record. You would get IP rights, so you could use the song in any content you want, whether you're a documentarian or filmmaker, a podcast host, a video game developer. You could use the music. If you come in the Discord, we have a token gated channel. You can even get the stems. If you want just the instrumental, or you want the vocals, maybe you're a musician, you want to do a remix and then upload that to Spotify. You can do that. All of the above. You can sub-license it, so you could own the song NFT, and Arizona Iced Tea could come to you and say, Josh, you have the Spottie 1 of 1, the best, our favorite 101 remix. It's the only song in the world that'll make sense for our Super Bowl commercial. We want to pay you $10,000, $50,000, whatever, as a sync fee, a flat fee, if you'll let us sub-license the song from you. Because Spottie is holding out. Spottie wants $1 million, whatever. You could accept that sync fee. And then when the song plays on the Super Bowl commercial on television, I would still collect a performance royalty from the broadcaster, because I still own my masters and I still own my publishing. And so that was another innovation. And that's all in the terms and conditions that we had at launch, linked on the site, which was a lot. A lot of people, still, big drops, selling 10,000 PFP, pandas or whatever cartoon animal. They won't even have a terms and conditions, but we had that from day one. And then,
smart.
Since then we've gone on to do a lot of live events where, your NFT may count as a ticket or get you early access to the ticket, early access to other merch, and fun things like that. But that was August of 2021. And I think we did a good job of getting the message out there and communicating these kind of complex ideas. We made our own little infomercial, and it sold out right away. We dropped it on my lunch break at this job that I was working from home, freelancing at. And it was super stressful because we were afraid we were having technical issues with the drop, but it was really just, we were waiting for the end. We did a test and we were waiting for them to show up, the pre-mint on OpenSea, and OpenSea's API was slow. So we're freaking out that our tech isn't working. Meanwhile, it's totally working. We finally checked Rarible, and they're like, oh yeah, it's here. We should have checked Rarible a long time ago. And we launched it. And after all this suspense, and I'm freaking out, and I'm about to be over my lunch break and everything. and I'm on Google Hangout with the devs. The devs aren't in the room with me. So I'm only hearing what they're saying out loud. And before I know it, it's sold out, basically instantly. And
congrats.
Yeah, that was thank you. That was a life-changing moment. I didn't know kind of the size of that moment, what it would mean for my future. But yeah, and in fact, we didn't expect that at all. I remember the week of the drop. I think the drop was on a Wednesday. The Monday before is when we put out the 4th single. So we put out a song right before the drop, and it was a song with Digital Art Chick, the Twitter personality, and it's a fun song. And that's when I think we really saw a bunch of crazy interest in the Discord. I don't know how much credit to give the Art Chick song, because we were doing other marketing at the same time. Of course, it's the week of the drop, but the interest went crazy. I went to the developers and I was like, yo, could we raise the price? Because I didn't expect us to have this much demand. We're asking 0.03, and which was about $100 worth of Ethereum.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think we could raise the price. Our numbers are going crazy. And they were like, yeah, we could do that, but it's going to delay the launch. And so we didn't. And it did 100 ETH in secondary sales in the first 7 hours.
Whoa.
Which was, and still is crazy, because at that point you have all the crypto punks too,
Yeah.
I mean, not all. I don't want to say all the CryptoPunks, but
Sure.
I just remember
But a
in
lot
the
of support
CryptoPunks
from them.
Discord, somebody's like, maybe support's a strong word. Just like it caught a lot of attention, I guess is what I just remember in the Discord, somebody being like, Spotty's about to hit 100 ETH. What the fuck? It caught us all by surprise for sure.
Yeah. And I bet that was a much nicer check than than your Spotify check, right?
So yeah, that was just on the primary sales, 2,000
Awesome.
NFTs at about $100 a pop. It was $192,000. And so that was the
Huge.
headline. That became a story. My friend Alex Fruchter, a good friend of mine from back in the day in Chicago, he wrote like a 6,000 word deep dive onto my background of being an artist in Chicago, not really finding my lane or finding financial success. And then a decade later, having this happen, and he pitched the story to Pigeons and Planes, which is a popular rap blog on Complex, and they ran it. They ran the story, and a lot of people saw that article. Like a lot of people, especially in the music industry.
Yeah.
And that opened doors, and right around the same time, which is crazy. Like at the same time, that hadn't even happened yet. I was putting Alex, same friend, put me in touch with Bun B, and we ended up doing that song together, All Time High. So that was like, you imagine that was crazy. I went from laid off of work, buying a CryptoPunk kind of on a whim in February, to like by October, I've got this crazy song, a song with an incredible artist, that I look up to, a legend in hip hop and in music, and this article's floating around. So that was a crazy run of 8 months for sure, to kind of going into the end of the year.
Respect, absolute respect, and credit to you because you really did the homework. Like the terms and conditions, that is huge. I feel that made you a much safer investment. That showed that you knew exactly what you're doing, and of course, you're a fantastic rapper, Spotty. I've seen you perform live. I think I first saw you perform at NFT Miami back in March 2022, I believe. I just missed you at South by Southwest that I was at, and I saw that you were performing there, and I was just getting into NFTs back then, and for me that was a huge moment. It was like, shit, this is like, these people are real. They're not just like in this imaginary world, and this is real, because I just come out from the pandemic as well, so this was the first time actually meeting other human beings for the first time, and then saw you straight after that at NFT Miami, which was really special. That really set things forth in motion, which must have been fantastic, Spotty, because I guess you could essentially say you almost gave up music. You really put it on hold for a bit. And what was that like, suddenly being fully immersed in the music industry again?
Man, I would say it's very like vindicating, liberating. I've had moments in my life where I felt like, I hadn't shown the world that I could do something that would like leave a legacy, or be like there's this Lupe line. There's this line in this Lupe song, and I quote it in that Complex article actually. But he says, did you improve on the design? Did you do something new? Which is like a really quick line, but it's like really serious to me. Like, that's kind of the challenge to me, is like, I want to do something new. I want to do something that's going to be inspirational or impactful. And I feel like with Spotty, I've been able to do it, especially like that in that moment in time. And it was like, man, a perfect storm of right place, right time. It blows my mind. It really blows my mind, because I know what it's like to feel like, to really give up on your dream, because like you said, I could kind of say I gave up on it. Like, no, I really, really did. I really thought music was in the back, the rear view mirror for me, and I didn't write a song for like from 2013 to March, April of 2021. Didn't write a
Wow.
song. Maybe I wrote some verses here or there. I wrote some verses, but I didn't write one song.
Wow.
So yeah, I feel like I appreciate things more, in a lot of ways. I feel like hopefully I'm more grounded because I think just this was the best case scenario that the universe could come up with for me. Because if you think I talk loud on Twitter now, and then if you met me a decade ago, man, I was like the smartest man in the world. Shit, even if you asked me a couple of years, if you asked me if you asked me when ApeCoin was $20, if I was the smartest man in the world, of course I was. So it's just it's just funny how things go, and you can never get too high or too low on yourself. But I think my route to where I've gotten today is unique, and it's just me. It's just me. Like I can't explain it any other way. Like I may never even, I may never achieve all the things that people would define as success. But I'm really like, I'm hungry. I'm very hungry still, but I'm content at the same time of like,
Yeah.
We did something special that I think will help others, along the way.
I mean, you already have. Like, you really set things in motion and showed that it could be done for artists like myself. I guess we could delve into what I guess are the biggest challenges as an artist releasing music on the blockchain currently, and what can we do to overcome that, and also, yeah, how would you even get started in the music NFT space?
The biggest challenge, I used to say, I'm going to tell you the answer that I've thought it's been for most of the time in the bull run, and I think it might still be the same challenge, which is if you want to do something that's never been done before, you almost always kind of need your own developers in Web3. That's painting with a broad brush. You could always do something that's never been done before with existing tools. But
right,
like what I wanted to do, which was a blind mint, kind of we called it a gumball machine where you don't know what you're going to get. Of course, now we think of that with almost all mints,
Yeah.
It's a blind mint. We don't even say the words blind mint because it's just a mint. But,
yeah. Spotty,
at that
can you
time,
just explain what a blind mint for people who aren't familiar with the Web3 space?
Yeah, it's basically a loot box. If you play video games, it's a loot box, or it's like think about a gumball machine. Everybody loves that feeling as a kid of putting a quarter in the gumball machine and you're going to get something, but you don't know what flavor you're going to get. You don't know which artwork you're going to get. You don't know which remix you're going to hear.
Yeah.
You don't know what your PFP is going to look like exactly.
Yeah.
But you're excited for the collection. You're excited you're going to have some kind of bubble gum, right? To do something like that at that time, and even now, like you usually are going to need your own team of devs. There are platforms where you could do it now, but at that point there really weren't. And even now, if you want to do something really custom, you have to find devs that are good and that you can trust, because nobody's in a better position to screw you than your devs if you can't trust them.
And how do you do that? How do you find the right people then, the right devs?
So that was a byproduct of me having a CryptoPunk. That's one of the privileges. That's one of the privileges that come along with kind of having a PFP that's got a good community behind it and has a lot of OGs in it. So my guy Richard at Manifold, he's a CryptoPunk. We were both part of kind of an early group of CryptoPunks who were saying like, let's use our CryptoPunks on LinkedIn. And so if you search, you'll find me Spottie WiFi on LinkedIn with my CryptoPunk, of course. And so through that, we were sharing job opportunities. I was laid off. I was furloughed, freelancing at the time. So I was talking to him about, they had content needs at Manifold, getting the brand out there. So I had talked to Richard just on that kind of tip of like, potentially working together for him. And through that, when it came time and I wanted to do a mint, I talked to a lot of platforms, like what's their name? I forget. But I talked to a lot of music NFT platforms and or NFT platforms rather, like Async even, Async Music, which was kind of ahead of their time. But at the end of the day, it was like, to do what I really want to do, I need my own devs. So I reached out to Richard, and it was his, it was West Coast NFT, which is a team that he works with a lot, that he recommended to me. And I'm super grateful for that, because I'm not the closest thing. I'm not at all an engineer or a developer, like nothing like that whatsoever. So you see really big, bad incidents sometimes where something goes wrong and all the money's been burned, or like all the money's been rugged or whatever. And that's something that can be, really, really brutal. So thankfully, West Coast NFT has always done a great job for me when we work together.
And yeah, another question I wanted to ask about your mint is, how did you communicate things well with it? Was it on Twitter Spaces? How do you kind of promote it? How would you promote an NFT these days?
At that time, Twitter Spaces wasn't as popular, if I remember right. Maybe Clubhouse was really popular for NFTs, but I wasn't on Clubhouse because I didn't even have an iPhone at the time. But nowadays, man, it's so tough right now. I'll be honest with you. I don't even really think of my Web3, my music NFTs right now. I don't even really think of them as a big revenue driver. I think of them more as just a channel where I can share my music in Web3, and I'm going to reach, in some ways, I'm going to reach a different audience, or they're going to engage with it in a different way, probably in a deeper way, more meaningful way, if it's in their wallet, or they're going to have a different relationship with the song if it's in their wallet, but I would say, yes, spaces nowadays is huge. It's a huge advantage for a musician over a visual artist. Like if you want to share, your music, like there's no better way than audio, live audio.
Right. They're forced
so to take advantage of that.
Exactly.
Exactly, and it's a different format. And people that enjoy Twitter Spaces, they love that shit. It's just like, to me, it's nostalgic. The feeling of like, I'm hearing a transmission, I'm hearing something live. It's like the radio, it's like Sirius, but I'm not in my car. I could be anywhere. I could be, I'm in my AirPods. And I think that's something that you and a lot of great artists have ran with. I'll say like instrumentalists, like / singers, songwriters. Like, to me, I like, as a rapper, and maybe this is a self-limiting bias or counterproductive, but I don't love performing my songs live on Spaces because I think I feel a bit insecure because I'm a rapper. I'm not playing an instrument for you live.
Right.
And so I almost...
Could you pick up the piano again?
Man, I don't know. It would take it would take a lot of work to do it right. But that's interesting. That's interesting. But normally with the tools I have right now, I'd rather just play a recording. But I think and I've seen rappers do this really well too. I'm probably just like insecure about it myself. But anyways, whether it's pre-recorded or live, like Spaces is a great opportunity for musicians. And I would say the other thing is like, to me, the other thing is potentially collabs or partnerships with other artists, or also with communities, and I think every artist has like, it's a dynamic of like how comfortable you are really what is the word, representing another brand, like it could be with the clothes you wear. I did songs with my Bored Ape. I still do songs with my Bored Ape. I was at Ape Fest filming music videos for songs about my Bored Ape and the community and things like that. But some artists that's not what they're passionate about, but that's a way to tap into community. And to get your music around other people. I would say just, sorry, I have so many thoughts, but the bigger thing is just bring value, like bring value to a space. If you're gonna come into a space, make sure you're bringing value. That might not even mean performing, depending on the conversation and the vibe, you know. If you're trying to tap into a community or get to know somebody that throws events, like just figure out how you can bring value, and the universe has a way of like things coming back to you, you know, when you think about it that way.
Yeah, it's a great point. I think that's something, and I think you're right. Hosts of spaces actually adore having live performances, because if you think about it, if you're hosting a space, especially on hours on end, some people do 24-hour spaces. Having a little break by having a musical interlude for a host is huge, and actually very entertaining and enjoyable for the audience as well. And I think that's something that artists don't really think about. It's like, actually, this is music which is entertaining and provides value. And I think that's part of the narrative of the music industry and just music as a whole the last few decades, that music is worthless, but we really underestimate it, which is why I'm so bullish on the music NFT space, because it's still incredibly underestimated, and for that reason incredibly undervalued, and very, very excited for the future, and that we're part of that too, and that's why I'm running this podcast. I hope that this helps educate up and coming artists that there is another way outside of the traditional music industry model, where we really do need gatekeepers to just give us a green light. And you don't need to so much anymore, but to make a living from your art, 100%. And the fact that you absolutely crushed it with your first drops is fantastic. And with my Love Letters collection as well, gave me a bit of breathing space where I could dedicate my time to the craft as well, to expand and do projects like these, you know. So yeah. How would you say, if you had to make a guess, how would you, where do you think the space is going to go from here? How do you think it's going to change and evolve? Do you think PFP collections are still going to be the thing moving forward? Do you think that's the thing musicians should do? What do you see? If you had to put a guess, what do you think is going to happen?
Man, bro, it's such an interesting time right now. I really think, I think that I think NFTs are probably going to have a big bull run in a general way, like, but it's not. I don't think it's going to be like. I think it's going to be delayed. Like, I think crypto is going to have a big run up, and then NFTs are going to have a huge wave kind of after. But it's all going to, like, I think it's all growing as we speak. That being said, I think PFPs are still going to be really important. Everybody's really hot on gaming NFTs. I think gaming and music go hand in hand in a lot of ways. And so I think that's super bullish for musicians. I mean, myself, I've been experimenting a lot in Decentraland. I do a party every Tuesday night, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern in Decentraland. Yep. In fact, bro, I would love to feature you. We feature artists. I would love, man. We do, we don't actually do many, like, we do a lot of music video parties is what we do. I have a live DJ that comes in. He spins music. He plays music videos. And that way, for a new artist, we're trying to onboard for artists that are new to Decentraland, or maybe new to the metaverse, maybe new to streaming, you know. So you don't need to have like a crazy setup to do a live performance. But if you have some songs or you have some music videos, we want to celebrate that and share it with our audience, you know, throughout the night. I think that we're going to have a big moment. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I will say this. I think a lot of things are being developed right now where we aren't going to need to use the word NFT. I think a lot of cool things are happening on Solana. It seems like to me right now, I might be getting ready to be doing a lot more on Solana. Um, but I
Huge.
think that there's always been this. I think that the line between like a Web3 artist and a Web2 artist is going to blur. I'll say that. I
Oh
really
yeah.
think it's going to blur a lot, and
And it needs
those
to.
walls are going to come down.
Yeah.
And like even the stuff you see Disney doing right now, you
Yeah.
know, they're partnering with Flow, the Flow blockchain. There's a reason Top Shot kicked off a huge bull run, which it really did. Top Shot kind of kicked off the whole last bull run. And the thing about Top Shot is you didn't need to know anything about crypto at all. You didn't need to own any crypto. If you had a credit or a debit card, you were good. You know, you could
Right.
buy and collect these moments. And the idea of music, digital music collectibles is it's becoming pervasive. And so and finally, the thing I'll say is ticketing. You know, eventually,
Oh yeah.
tickets to all these live events, they're going to be digital collectibles. I
Yeah.
really have no doubt about it. And so I don't know how much we'll talk about it as Web3 music. I don't know if we'll use the word NFT. I don't know what the vernacular will be. But I think it's a great time for people and artists to be experimenting, also collecting. You know, one of the best things when you asked about like how you would sell something, I always tell artists like become a collector. Like you wouldn't go and try to sell a car if you didn't before you have driven a car.
Yeah.
Like you would like drive a car, you would like learn to drive, and then you would be like, oh, okay, so like, you know, this is what will help somebody want to buy this thing because I've used it before. But yeah, so those are a lot of ramblings, but I think it's going to be really, really intriguing, man. I myself, like, if you think of me as like the CryptoPunk rapper, I started in like the Web3 space, and I've been kind of circling around, you know, circling out from there, you know, trying to expand to reach a wider audience. And I think that's going to be really important for Web3 artists. Like, there's still really power in the idea of like tapping into a really niche audience through
Yeah.
your creativity, your lyrics, your music video treatments, whatever. But I think that the platforms that are going to win, if you're thinking about platforms that you might want to partner with, I think they're going to have broader audiences that aren't going to get all the inside jokes if your content is really targeted to crypto fans like I've done in the past, you know, that sort of thing.
Right. Gosh, Spotty, you've delved into so many things I want to talk about right now.
I know I'm just rambling because you're giving me some great questions, man.
Let's dive into metaverse a little bit. What got you bullish about metaverse gigs? Why is it special for artists to play in the metaverse?
I'm bullish on the metaverse. Just a lot of it is, I do enjoy it. I do think it's really immersive. You know, if you think about like, first of all, streaming is so huge right now. You know, the rock stars of today are streamers, really. And when you're in Twitch or when you're in Kick, you're in a chat, or you're on YouTube, whatever. You're in a chat and you have emojis. You have gifts that you could give to people. Like, they're basically digital gifts, you know, like subscriptions. You can gift someone some subs to your favorite streamer, that sort of thing. When you're in the metaverse, I think it's much more expressive. Like, you can select your clothing in the metaverse. You know, you can select everything, your entire appearance, not only your clothing, you can select your skin. You know, you can select your hair. You know, I like to express myself. So in the metaverse, I can be a lot more expressive than I can in a chat. So that's one thing. And then I think, you know, you mix in like all the investment that's going on in VR and metaverse from big companies like Apple and Meta. Like, yes, I think it got way overheated and people think of Meta as a failure, but I don't see them really actually like slowing down. Like eyewear, you know, augmented reality, virtual reality, that's all I think gonna be pervasive, you know. And anyways, through experimenting in Decentraland, I've been able to reach fans all over the world. that
Yes.
in a way more personal way than I probably could in any other way, because I'm able to show them my music, show them my music videos, show them what I'm working on, show them where I'm traveling, with a live DJ in video format while I have a chat open with them.
Yeah.
Right. While I'm on the dance floor doing crazy dance moves, that I can't do in real life, but I can do in the metaverse. So we're just, it's like a different form of communication. I can also offer them, Spottie WiFi wearables, get the Spottie WiFi hoodie, get the Spottie WiFi wings, get the hat, whatever. So that if you feel like representing me, or if you're vibing to one of my songs when you're going to a party, you can rock the Spottie Wi-Fi shoes or the backpack at the party and let people know. Or the dance moves, the spot. I need to do that. I need to have a Spottie Wi-Fi dance move, that sort of thing. I have one guy, I have a song about.
Can you show us a song
called "By the Dips"? Oh my god, dude! Don't put me on the spot. I can get my.
Have you actually got one?
No, I just do a little after like a couple of vodka sodas. I got a little in sync move. I should get my Justice Timberlake on. But like it's as an artist, it's a different form of communication and also a whole different type of marketplace, because there's all these different ways that people can express themselves. I can also create like branded or spotty accessories for people. So I'm having fun with that. And I think I basically my thought was, if I can establish myself there now, or maintain like thought leadership, expertise, demonstrated commitment to that now in a bear market, then if it does turn back up, I think I'll have a lot of artists and a lot of collaborators that want to work together to learn from me. Yeah. And I think that's gotten me, that type of thing has gotten me a lot further than my musical talent, I think. Like I've been able to work with some really great artists that I don't think they heard my music and they were like, oh, this is like the dopest rapper alive. Like it's a no brainer. I should do this song with this guy. I got to get on a song with this kid. No, I don't think it's that. I think, and I've had them tell me like, they want to work together and learn from me, and they trust my relationship with my community because I have that relationship. So that's the way I think about the metaverse. Basically, it's not. I'm not making any money off of it today.
Yeah, but that's not why we didn't become artists, because we expected to become rich, and far from it. But yeah, actually, a point I want to add to the metaverse is like, if you think about it, touring and having to physically carry your body everywhere is a huge limitation. Like, not just financially, but like energy levels, everything. And if you can reach it, and without the limitations, you can reach a lot more people in a more meaningful way than before. One thing I love about Twitter Spaces that I kind of compare to busking a little bit is you don't have to carry your gear around. You just jump into the room, you play your songs, and then you do your thing. You add your value. When the time's right, you move to the next one. You do the same thing. And when I was doing that in the pandemic, I was reaching hundreds, if not thousands of people, which I wouldn't be able to reach before. Like, for example, if I'm busking, you're probably lucky to reach maybe 100 attentive listeners that day, and you can do that so much easier in Twitter Spaces. If you bring in the metaverse, where it's more meaningful and it's like a whole other world, and you can do that as well, where you jump between worlds and perform, that's incredible. And you can just give people one hell of a good time by sharing your work. Another thing you pointed on, you spoke about, was ticketing, and I completely agree with you. Like, isn't it a shame that you buy a ticket but you kind of forget about it? Like, unless you collect wristbands and tickets, which are easily lost. With a digital portfolio of all the shows you went to, where you can literally prove you saw an artist before they made it big by collecting the ticket, that's like incredible. And that's the thing. Like, so many people say, "Oh, I saw Billie Eilish before they're big. I saw Ed Sheeran, whatever, Jay-Z," but that's just all talk. And with the blockchain technology, you can actually authenticate that, and it saves so much ticket touting as well. It's like, yeah, it's an absolute no-brainer. Like where you can say like you're doing that already with your collectors, where your collectors get first access to your tickets, so they can get it at the right price, not get it at like 5x the original price because people flip it. So yeah, fixes so many issues in the music industry, and that's where, yeah, and it really brings artists and fans first, which is what it should really be about, and I don't think it has ever been in the music industry, sadly.
100% agree, man. 100%. And I think, for the people, like, imagine Live Nation if they start issuing NFTs if all tickets were NFTs and they collect a royalty on secondary sales. You know what I mean?
Right.
They could actually get people to use their own marketplace so that they do get a royalty,
Yeah.
versus, smaller players, it might be more difficult. And then, just by doing airdrops, or whatever, like you're going to get some photos from the show or whatever, like they could create a whole secondary market with just like what Disney's going to do with their digital pins, digital pinnacles, whatever. So yeah, I think it's inevitable. It's going to be wild, man. It's going to be wild because people will see benefit in it, and it's funny because there's articles coming out now, like, somebody just wrote an article about, Disney is doing everything they can to not call it an NFT, but it is an NFT. I think the language is going to change. Maybe we won't call it that, but ultimately, like, I'm not afraid of the word NFT. I know people think it's a dirty word now, but like, people think Bitcoin is a bad word when Bitcoin's down. People will be quick to laugh at you if you collect Bitcoin. Doesn't mean we change the name of Bitcoin. Like, it's going to prove its value very soon, for sure, to a lot of new people.
Yeah, you're totally right. And I'm the same. I embrace NFT. It's the most confusing term ever and very alienating, but it stands out like all the other alternatives. Like people are trying to start a movement where they're like, let's call it on-chain music and stuff like that. And that makes total sense. But it's like, you got to be controversial to make some noise and to stand out, especially when there's so much noise going on in this day and age, more than ever. So yeah, I'm not afraid of it either. So interesting that you're the same there. Also, mate, I could speak forever. Maybe we retouch in a year or so and see where we're at now with well, especially with how fast the space evolves. Just to finish, I think you're so right. I think you won't even know if it's an NFT or not, and I think it has to well, for the general public to dive in. Actually, one thing I would like to touch upon is creators' royalties. What's your view on that? How do you think? What do you think is next on the creators' royalty front, where us as creators can be respected and use that to kind of nourish our communities?
So I think that, like, to me, I think the solution is pretty straightforward. It's just not super simple. The challenge is it's not super easy to set up your own marketplace exactly just yet. Rarible has a pretty good solution, but I don't know of too many other solutions other than Rarible where anybody can just go up and set themselves up and do it. But ultimately, I think that for almost all artists, probably royalties isn't where you should be relying on or expecting a ton of revenue no matter what anyways.
Yeah.
I think that's you're in almost all situations, you're going to be better off if you just assume that secondary royalties will be zero.
Yeah.
And you're probably better off thinking about, okay, if I want to do a project and if I want it to be an NFT collection, what is the goal and what am I promising for the primary sale? Am I looking to it? Am I looking to have a primary sale that's going to help fund my recording and my production, or fund some vinyl records, or fund a concert? Like what are the goals? What sort of a sale do you need? What do you need that to look like in terms of how many are you looking to tokens are you looking to sell, and at what price? And then what am I delivering in return? And so I wouldn't even focus too much on the secondary royalties. One last thing I wanted to say too, just on the topic of tickets, because I got sidetracked a little bit, but one last thing that I think is really powerful about Web3 is like, we're used to getting rewards programs. Like, oh, I shop at Starbucks a bunch, so I get a rewards program. Cool, that's straightforward. I get how that could work in Web 2 and Web 3. I shop at Live Nation. I buy a lot of concert tickets. I understand what getting rewarded could look like. I'm a frequent flyer with whatever such and such airline. Where I think it becomes really interesting is when, like, you could be a Josh Savage fan or a fan of Spottie, and I, as the artist, if I can form a relationship with different organizations, I can reward you in a way that isn't just siloed, a way that isn't just on SpottieWiFi.com. That's going to look like token gated playlists on Spotify, which they're already doing, token gated songs on Audius, token gated early access to tickets on Live Nation, which they're already testing. Whatever, you get 10% off the Spottie Frappuccino, from the months of September to October, whatever, like anything I can partner with or whatever. Or maybe not even partner with. I could say, man, I wish I had Snoop Dogg's email list. If I had Snoop Dogg's email list, I would just send all his fans my songs. Well, I may not have his email list, but I know every wallet that's collected one of his NFTs on Sound or on OpenSea. I could offer them something. I could offer them my music or an NFT or access to some token gated experience, whatever that is. So anyways, that like transparency of like it, people can be anonymous or whatever, but you still have a list of wallets that you can offer things to, whether they're your customers today or not.
I guess that's fundamentally what an NFT is. Digital token that gives you superfan access, which is my elevator pitch when people ask me what
I
that
like
is.
that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Spottie, what's next for you? What are you working on right now? I mean, I know you're working on a lot. What projects are you working on in the pipeline? And what's next for Spottie WiFi?
So right now I'm just putting out a lot of new music with my good friend DJ Malski. Anybody that has been following me and really dove into my most recent album, The King's Alpha, they probably remember a song that I did with DJ Malski on that album. And that song's called Do You Get It? We have a music video for it, but we have a bunch of new music that we did. And it's very different than anything people have heard from me. It's a lot more just like fun party music because
Awesome.
we just felt like in rap, there's not a lot of fun music coming out these days. A lot of the music is like how tough people are or whatever, just like, that sort of vibe. But we wanted to come with something fun, upbeat.
Fantastic. Quickly, what's your relationship with Spotify? Do you think it's still important, even though you're releasing on Web3 as well? What's the dynamic between that, do you think, and what's the right balance between the two?
Yeah, I think it's not a necessary evil. I don't think it's a necessary evil. I just think it's an unavoidable evil, basically, at this point. I feel very strongly that I'm doing myself and my fans a disservice if I don't put my music on the most accessible platform on the planet, for a lot of people. So Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Tidal, Amazon, I want my music everywhere. I'm going to be doing some more, experimenting, like basically with a lot of these new songs I'm putting out. I'm going to start putting them out on Audius before I put them out on Spotify.
Wow.
I may token gate some of them so that my fans can get like a really exclusive preview before everyone else. But at the end of the day, I think the songs need to be everywhere in order for them to have the best chance of living their fullest life,
Yeah.
But at the same time, I wish they paid artists more fairly. I think the whole streaming thing is a joke. But that's the beauty of us being early to Web3, because even a modest sale, if I can sell even a few $100s, let alone a few $1,000s worth of digital collectibles or NFTs of a song, then that's the equivalent of an embarrassingly large amount of streams today in terms of how an artist gets paid in the streaming model. And that Web3 revenue is instantaneous and immediate, whereas payment is very, very slow in Web2.
Yeah, I still remember when I got my first Web3 check, and I just couldn't believe how fast it was. And I'm still waiting years later for some royalty checks today. It's unbelievable. Well, Spottie, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. It's been incredibly insightful, incredibly inspiring. And I just love how you just have this just need for learning, and you're always one step ahead. Like it's incredible, and so Spottie, definitely one to keep an eye on, guys. So definitely check him out on his socials. What is your social media handle and website?
I'm at Spottie WiFi pretty much everywhere. SPOTTIE Wi-Fi. And also, if anybody's interested in the metaverse, Tuesday night, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern in Decentraland. Doesn't cost anything to join the party. You don't even need a cryptocurrency wallet. You just any computer in the world. You have to be on a computer, not phone or tablet yet. But spottie.land is the shortcut if you want to go to our party. Spottie.land, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. Awesome. And Josh, we definitely got to get you in there. That's going to be amazing.
I can't
yeah.
Let's do it. I'm not DJing too hard at the moment, but maybe in the new year that would be fantastic. Spottie, thanks once again. That would
be amazing.
Guys,
thank
everybody,
you, brother. Really appreciate it.
No, of course. This has been fantastic. One of my favorites. Everybody, this has been GM Good Music, and now GN. Take care.